Rossoneri, this is AC Milan Talk. We are ready for a new weekly episode focusing on the goings on for our favorite team on and off the pitch. Here with me today, Sheridan Burr, as always. Ciao, Sheridan.
Ciao, Licia. Hi, everybody at home. Looking forward to today's show.
How has your week been from our last talk?
Very nice, very busy, lots of action. The season is well and truly underway, so lots to do, lots to talk about, but a very good week, thank you.
A massive week also for our Rossoneri, many important appointments, so let's start from our men's first team. Sheridan, the Champions League is back for Stefano Pioli's side. It's time for the beginning of this so important competition in Europe. The first match against Newcastle, in which our Rossoneri create a lot, especially in the first half, but the final result, as we can see, was 0-0. And we also have to consider the other match, Paris Saint-Germain, which won against Borussia Dortmund, and that now is at the top of the table.
Yeah, it was. We're going to discuss the match, obviously, in detail a bit later on, but it was not the result Milan wanted, but there were some positives. The performance was very good. Newcastle defended in a very dogged, a very determined style. It was one-way traffic, it was red and black traffic, but unfortunately Mr. Pioli's boys couldn't find the net. But it's by no means a lost cause or a disaster. There was plenty of good stuff, of positivity that I think the Rossoneri can take from the match.
Only 1 point for our Rossoneri. What a pity, because they deserved to win, don't you agree, Sheridan?
Absolutely, and we're looking at the images now, and it was the pressure was entirely created by Milan in the first half, and Newcastle had very few attacks, but sometimes the ball doesn't want to go into the net, Licia. And also, we have to give credit to Nick Pope, the Newcastle United goalkeeper. Whenever he was required to stop the ball, to make a save, he did. He frustrated Theo Hernandez, Leao, Olivier Giroud. Basically, Milan did everything right except put the ball in the net. This is wonderful footwork by Rafael, and then he just overcomplicates it a little bit, trips over the ball. Then it wasn't the keeper that time; it was a defender who cleared it off the line. I think it's a positive 0-0, which some might say doesn't really exist, but it was the chances were there. It just the final finishing, the final shots, the final attempts on goal just weren't accurate enough. But it's, like I say, it's the beginning. It's a good point. A point against the Premier League side is always a good point. And Newcastle, they defended like their lives depended on it, and it just wasn't to be. But it's not the end of the world.
Our friend Adrian is missing today, Sheridan.
He's not here with us in the on the set, but he's with us in spirit. He's always in our hearts, and I gather he's nearer than I think.
And he was at San Siro Stadium on Wednesday night for the first match of this new Champions League against Newcastle. He experienced the match in the pitch side, and he prepared for us some curiosities, some facts in the post-match. So let's relive Wednesday night against Newcastle with Adriano Del Monte.
Champions League football was back here at San Siro, and here are my 3 takeaways from Milan's draw against Newcastle. Number 1, it was very, very important that we responded after the defeat in the derby. It was going to be tough, but to the players' credit, they came out firing, they were attacking, they were hungry, they fed off the energy of the crowd. And well, 14 shots before Newcastle had a single shot. It was very impressive, the display and the confidence from Stefano Pioli's men. Number 2, a clean sheet. Clean sheets in Europe can be very, very hard to come by, and especially after what happened in the derby only 3 days prior. It was very important that defensively the team were sound and very strong, and that they were indeed. Newcastle with very few chances on the night, perhaps just 1 shot on target right at the end. So not too much for both goalkeepers to do a sound display by the back four, and pledging more of that to come as the Champions League continues. And number 3, and probably most importantly, because on Champions League nights, there is nothing better than the atmosphere here, pitch side, inside this magnificent stadium. The fans played their parts. As always, the choreography was tremendous pre-game. And their support, their sound and energy and noise that they brought just truly magical. It's what we love about Champions League nights. And of course, a special mention as well for the returning Sandro Tonali. Many chants from the Newcastle fans, but of course from the Milan fans. Well, so much love for Tonali returning after short time. So there's my 3 takeaways from the Milan Newcastle clash, guys. I'll see you in the studio next week.
Adriano's comments are very interesting, Sheridan.
He's very good, isn't he, Adriano? He's very, very good. Yeah, I agree with everything he said. The clean sheet is something that it's worth its weight in gold in Europe. So get the clean sheet was brilliant. Sandro Tonali, it was nice to see him back, and both of these sets of fans gave him a very warm reception, and the reaction was good after the unfortunate results at the weekend in the league. The team responded very well, and also, as Adriano said, the support from the fans at San Siro for Milan is an incredible boost. It's unlike anything else. There is the man himself, Sandrino Tonali, and looked a bit emotional, didn't he? It must have been a bit strange for him. But it was a very professional performance. And I think once the match started, he was no longer thinking about his old friends, his old teammates. He was just thinking about playing for his team and those fans, which is correct, which is how it should be. But no, it was a very good, I thought it was a very good response to the loss at the weekend by the team. And it was just a, as I say, disappointing result, but the performance, the atmosphere was top level.
I would like to focus especially on the last one, on the atmosphere created by San Siro for Sandro Tonali homecoming, this magical atmosphere, and he decided, a little curiosity also, to not participate in the pitch expansion, to leave this magic atmosphere only once during the warm-up. Don't you agree, Sheridan?
It's possible, absolutely. I mean, they are professional players and they're very well paid, but they're humans and they have emotions.
Yeah.
And it must have been a bit strange of him. I think it was strange for Milan fans to see him in another shirt with black and white stripes, not black and red stripes. So it would have been an unusual combination of feelings for him. So he handled it the best way he felt he could, and he will have been very happy with the positive reception he got from the Milan fans. So it was a nice kind of sideshow, or a nice detail to what was a really good evening.
An exclusive clip of AC Milan fans in the moments that dedicated to Sandro Tonali, a former AC Milan player. Let's see it together. For Sandro Tonali, memories, unforgettable memories at the club.
Yeah, and you could see on his face there, I think, a bit of emotion. He was trying to focus with his new teammates and get ready for the match, but there was some emotion there, and it's it's nice to see. It's nice to see that he still has a huge place in the heart of Milan fans, and Milan has a huge place in his heart. So that was nice to see the rare emotion from players, because normally once they get on the turf, on the grass, it's all down to business. But it was that was very pleasant to see.
Sandro Tonali met again his former AC Milan fans, but also his rossoneri teammates, also Olivier Giroud. So let's listen his interview about the Newcastle player.
Molto felice di vederlo, e ho avuto la possibilità di vederlo già. Io l'ho visto a Milanello con la nazionale, quindi sono molto felice per lui, anche perché lui ha ricevuto una bellissima accoglienza stasera, e sarà perché Milan per me è un grande club, perché loro non dimenticano i loro giocatori che hanno fatto tanto per il club, quindi bella serata per lui, e Ma sì, volevamo vincere questa partita, ma sono molto felice per Sandro.
What do you think about this for Sheridan?
It was nice to see how Olivier Giroud holds Sandro Tonali in high esteem. They had some good times together in the red and black shirt, and it was very friendly in the midst of a very competitive, important Champions League match. It's good to see that friendship and loyalty still exists in football.
Also, familiar and iconic faces in attendance at San Siro Stadium last night, like Jerry Cardinale and Zlatan Ibrahimovic.
Exactly, Zlatan Ibrahimovic, the fans love to see the big Swedish superstar, and he gives real star quality to among the fans watching. And the owner, Mr. Cardinale, has been to 5 matches out of 5 so far this season, showing his support for the team. He's got big plans for the team, and it's good to have some of those faces in the crowd watching on, because it makes a special night even more special, extra special.
Our friend Adriano talked about the match, the tactics, the final result and the clean sheet, Sheridan.
Yeah, as I said before, keeping a clean sheet is very important. Milan played on the front foot and they tried to attack. They didn't sit back. Milan went for it. I mean, the statistics, you just look at that. Shots from Milan, 25, 9 on target. Newcastle, 6 shots, 1 on target, which was right at the end from Longstaff that was stopped by Marco Sportiello. That tells the story of a very one-sided 0-0. That was a very unusual, goalless match. And the goals will come for Milan, but you just look at those statistics and you think, how did it finish a point each? But it happens in football sometimes.
Very interesting, these statistics, but during the 90 minutes also many unexpected episodes like the injuries picked up by Mike Maignan, Ruben Loftus-Cheek, which luckily are not so serious.
Yeah, of course, that's the danger of playing, or not the danger, it's a risk that happens when you play matches, high-intensity matches every few days. It's the start of the season, so perhaps some of the players their bodies are getting used to the action again, because it's only September, Licha, so the bodies may be grumbling a little bit, but we hope that they're not serious injuries. And it has to be said, when Marco Sportiello came on to replace Mike Maignan, he was fantastic. Everything that was asked of him, which wasn't much, he did very, very well. I remember when Marco Sportiello joined and he gave his press conference as a new Milan player, and he really came across as a good leader, a responsible, serious professional, and a great person to have in the dressing room, to have in the training ground, and he's a really great person to have as reserve goalkeeper if something happens to Mike Maignan, and that was the case, and he came on and he was perfect.
As a curiosity on Ruben Loftus-Cheek Instagram account, because he said, I feel okay, just a cramp, so
there you
nothing
go.
serious.
He's okay, and cramp is something that you get, it's just a sign of fatigue, or if you haven't hydrated properly, and it's just a case of it's early in the season. This is the first midweek game of the season. So all the players, they haven't had the summer off because they had a summer tour, but it's not been the same intensity of football. So, as I say, the leg muscles are just getting used to it. So, just cramp. He's okay. He feels good. The Milan fans feel a bit more relaxed about the situation.
After the 90 minutes on the pitch, Stefano Pioli talked about his last performance. Here's interview, his post-match reaction.
Abbiamo vinto le partite quando abbiamo giocato meglio gli avversari, abbiamo perso quando abbiamo giocato peggio, e oggi dovevamo vincere perché abbiamo giocato meglio, ma si vede che ci è mancato un pochettino di qualità nella conclusione finale, un pochettino di cattiveria, insomma qualcosa ci è mancato, però bisogna insistere. Il girone, ripeto, sarà particolarmente difficile, ma noi sappiamo che valori abbiamo e sappiamo come anche opporci bene ad avversari forti come Borussia Dortmund, come sarà il PSG, e chiaramente cercheremo di alzare ancora di più il livello delle nostre prestazioni.
Sheridan, after the Champions League, now we are back for Serie A, and our rossoneri having to bounce back from last Saturday's result.
Yeah, domestically, it's a chance to get back into action and to get 3 points on the board. It's never easy against Hellas Verona, but it will be a match that is a chance to archive the weekend's events. The graphic is there. Lecce, we can't hide it, we can't deny it. It was not what Milan wanted, not what anyone connected with Milan wanted to happen in the derby, but occasionally it happens. Nothing really went right for Milan. Inter, on this occasion, highly dominant, but the beautiful thing about football, Lecce, is there's always a tomorrow. Yeah. And there's always another match, and it's a chance for Milan just to move forward, archive the loss in the Derby della Madonnina, and just keep moving forward and concentrate on what's ahead, not what's behind you.
Yeah, they need to put a good game and to take home a good result. Even if we are only at the beginning of the season, starting well is so important. And the last time we faced the Hellas Verona was also our closer match in the last season, and the match in which Zlatan Ibrahimovic said goodbye to football and to AC Milan. Sheridan.
It was an emotional evening. I remember it very clearly, and it was a special moment, but also a sad moment. Zlatan Ibrahimovic doesn't normally show his emotions, but even Zlatan, the big man, was there a tear in his eye, Licha? Do you think there was a tear in Zlatan's eye? He's a man who hides his emotions, but even he felt. Look at that. There's definitely a tear in his eyes. Poor little fella, but yeah, it was a big moment, saying goodbye to a man who has done so much for this club on and off the pitch, raising the profile off the pitch, and it was an emotional time. But Zlatan still comes to the stadium, as we just saw during the Champions League match. He will always be a part of AC Milan history, but there's someone who didn't want to be spotted. The emotion was very high that night. Yeah. The emotion was certainly up to 10.
A magic night, a magic moment for iconic phase of AC Milan history. Sheridan, let's change chapter, because the match against Hellas Verona, our rossoneri will wear a particular jersey, a beautiful jersey.
They have, and don't just take Leach's word for it. I have the evidence here. If you bear with me, here is the new Milan. Let me just rotate it that way. There you go. Now, hopefully you can see that. That is the new Milan third kit, of course, by Puma. Mm-hmm. And, Leisha, you will notice that it's not one distinct colour. It's very, very, very colourful. If I just rotate it skillfully, hopefully you can see at the back. Look at that. It really is a wonderful, revolutionary colour scheme for Milan. Yeah. And the third kits often are, and I am a big fan of it. I think the home kits are fairly classic, have to be red and black stripes. White kits are often white or a derivation of white. And the third kit, there's a bit more room to be creative, a bit more room. The badge there is in white, which is fantastic. And there's a bit more chance to be creative with the third kit. And the colours basically represent the diversity, the multicultural aspect, the fact that in the city of Milan, everyone's free to be who they are. Everyone is free to do what they like, in the sense that there's no prejudice. People are accepted for whatever they are. Diversity is a very big part of the city of Milan. And this shirt pays tribute to that. Do you like it, Licha?
I like it so much. Social meaning, but also it's so pink.
It's your favourite
so beautiful.
colour?
Yeah, one of my favorite
colours. One of your favourite colours.
Yeah.
Well, maybe after the show, ask if you can keep this, and or don't ask, just take it with you. I'm joking, of course, but yeah, it's a wonderful shirt, revolutionary, friendly, inclusive, and from us here at AC Milan Talk, it's a big hit, isn't it?
The first match with this third kit for our rossoneri, but Sheridan, what should we expect from Marco Baroni's side? What do you think about their more recent performances?
I think they're always a difficult team to play against. It won't be easy. There are no easy games in Serie A. Milan's finishing will have to be a lot sharper. That's what Mr. Pioli said after the Newcastle match, that they lacked a bit of ruthlessness, cattiveria, a bit of sharpness in the finishing. So there will be chances against Hellas Verona, and Hellas Verona will probably defend deep and try and stop Milan having too much of the attacking momentum. But I think it's a good chance for Milan to get back to 3 points after their brilliant form in Serie A so far this season.
Ready for the match against Hellas Verona, and ready also for the next one in the middle of the week, the next week, with a flight that will take us to, let me say it, one of the gems of Italy, Sardinia, a flight to Cagliari.
Very nice. I have to be honest, I've never been to Sardinia. No one's invited me. But yeah, it's always wonderful to go to the islands to play football there. They're very passionate, and Cagliari are another team that won't give anything away. You have to work for everything you can get against Cagliari. So these are tough matches. They might not be as glamorous as the other matches against Newcastle, Inter, but they're important matches. All the matches are important.
A new return for Cagliari in Serie A, and there will be a very interesting match, Sheridan. Let's change chapter, because we are going to talk about our women. A new season started also for our women against the reigning champion, the Giallorosse. What would you like to say about the last match, Sheridan, considering also our rossoneri performance?
Yeah, it was a tough opening match, and playing Roma first match was a tough one. But they did very well. They did very well, Mr. Gantz's side. The 4-2 defeat looks quite heavy, quite pesante when you see it written down. But the players actually did really well and came back from 2-0 down. I'm sure we'll see the highlights very soon. But it was a good performance. But Roma, just when they needed to, they found another level. They found another gear, the team from the capital. This is Roma taking the lead in the first half. And not great marking by Milan. And then not long after, it was 2-0 with a really good goal. It has to be said, a really good drive from distance beyond Laura Giuliani, but Milan didn't surrender. And that was a really good goal from Chantal Dompig to make it 2-1 and showed that Roma do have weaknesses. And then came the equaliser, and there was a bit of a bundle, a bit of a scrap. But eventually it went in the net, and that's the only bit we care about. And that was Marinelli, I believe, scoring her first goal for the rossoneri. But then Roma kind of woke up again, and they got angry. They made it 3-2 with a really good shot from distance. And by then it was lights out for Milan, because Roma made it 4-2. However, scoring twice against Roma, coming back from 2 goals down against Roma is not simple. Not everyone can do it. So there were positives that Mr. Gantz can take from the performance, particularly the scorers, Dompig and Marinelli. It was important for them to get goals, the first goals of the season for the rossoneri. So it was a defeat. It was 4 goals conceded, but it was a good performance and plenty to build on for Mr. Gantz.
Not the best beginning for our women, but they need to bounce back from the last match, because there is a demanding fixture list. The next match will be against Napoli and then against Juventus.
Exactly. But the good thing is that the hardest game of this half of the season against Roma is out of the way, and they showed enough in that performance against the Giallorosse to convince us that they can do well against Napoli Femminile and against Juventus. So I'm really looking forward to those matches. As I say, the loss against Roma was difficult to take, but they showed enough quality and also mental strength to give us an indication that they can do very well this season. So I'm feeling optimistic about those upcoming matches.
That's all for our women. Let's move on with our under-19s. Sheridan, what a team in Primavera Uno, and what a great beginning also in the Youth League, a great result.
The team are flying this season. It's so good to see Licia. They were brilliant in the league, no fuss in the league, very tidy. This is the UEFA Youth League, rather, played before the men's team. And this was the first goal from Chaka Traore. It was a really good team move after 16 minutes. It started from a really good run down the wing, and by, I believe it was Filippo Scotti, the flying winger. And the Newcastle defence didn't really keep an eye on Chaka Traore. He made it 1-0. Once again, Scotti involved Licia. Look at it, this wing play, very impressive. And a bit of a mix-up in the area, and the referee said penalty. So it was a chance for the young Rossoneri to make it 2-0. Camarda there being bundled over. He picked himself up and he took the penalty, and that's a really good penalty. Right in the corner, 2-0 to Milan after 20 minutes, and Newcastle were already thinking this is going to be a long afternoon. And it was for them. It didn't get any better. This is another really good attack by Rossoneri, played to Camarda, and that's a really good finish. Fired into the net, 3-0 after 23 minutes, and the match was basically over. Newcastle, to their credit, they did try, they played with pride, and they tried to kind of get back in. It's another chance to see this really fine goal from Mr. Abate's side. Great movement from the number 9, Camarda, and then he just smashed it into the top corner. Goalkeeper had no chance, and from then on, Newcastle, they played with honour and played with pride, but they were blown away by the brilliant Primavera.
A perfect game against Newcastle with a particular player that stood out. He's only 15, you have already said his name, Camarda.
Brilliant, really good performance, so young. You know, even at that level, he was a young man or a young guy among slightly older, more experienced players, and he was very calm and very relaxed, and 2 goals, a brilliant penalty. He was really, really impressive, and the future looks very bright for Camarda.
As we already said, great beginning also in Primavera Uno, 3 wins for 3 matches, and also in the last one match against Sassuolo.
Yeah, away performance, it's always impressive. It's always good to get a victory away from home, and they beat Sassuolo 2-0. Clean sheet, no fuss, no stress, let's say. And look at that, Licia. Who's top of the league?
Yeah.
AC Milan. It's a really, really good indication of the work that Mr. Abate, Ignazio Abate, has been doing with the Primavera. And we've discussed it many times that last season, the youth team, the start was not great. There were lots of performances that weren't quite up to scratch. But this season, they are flying. This is the match against Sassuolo at the Ricci Stadium. Milan in white, in case you're wondering. And that was Victor Eletu with a really good shot from distance. There he is, and it was just no chance for the Sassuolo keeper. And goes and he hugs Mr. Abate. Look at that, everyone's happy. It's such a joyful start to the season. Look at that, right in the bottom corner. Made it 1-0 to the young Rossoneri. And this is the second goal. I think this was a bit of a mix-up. This wasn't a beautiful goal, let's say, Licia. This was an ugly goal, but they value the same, they're worth the same. It doesn't really matter, they all count, and this made it 2-0. It's another chance to see it. The keeper not perhaps getting much of a clearance, and there was a bit of a bundle, but the important thing is that the ball ended up in the back of the net. 2-0, game over, and the Primavera, another clean sheet against Newcastle United. The Primavera are doing so well, and I say it every week, but if you get a chance to watch the Primavera, you should, because this group are really exciting, and they have a very bright future, I believe.
So now they have the objective of keeping this winning streak going, also in the next big match against Juventus, a big match in every sense.
Always important, always worth watching when Milan take on Juventus back at the Puma House of Football. So it's a home match for the Primavera, and just let's hope they continue the brilliant form and just continue the champagne football, the sparkling football they've been playing so far.
That's all for today. Thanks to Sheridan Bird.
Thank you very much. Thank you everyone at home for watching.
Thank you, dear Rossoneri, and see you in the next episode of our AC Milan Talk.